Hello, my friends, and it is me again, the Abysmal Critic, also known as Horror Amarada, or Rada for short. I know it's been a little while since the last time I made a video. You know, I got married. I don't remember. Actually, I do remember that I said thank you for everybody who contributed to that, but I need to say again, and I will probably be saying it for the rest of my life, thank you so much for everybody who helped make that a fantastic day. I cannot even begin to express how grateful I am. If anybody here has donated to that campaign and would like to see our wedding video, I am going to be uploading it privately, and I will be more than glad to send it to anybody who donated and would like to see it because they missed it originally. That said, we're not here to talk about how great my wedding was or anything fun like that. Instead, we are here because, much like what prompted me to start the channel in the first place, what has finally gotten me off my ass, and other than, you know, the fact I've been meaning to do it anyway, is current day. Isn't it always current day, motherfucker? Anyway, so as I'm sure you guys have heard from whatever your favorite news source is, gamers are facing the uphill battle against censorship still. And we always will be. However, they've now managed to find a way to accelerate the process. Collective Shout, a Australian-based advocacy group for supposedly women's rights or some shit, basically against the exploitation of women or some bullshit like that they like to push, has managed to pressure the major payment processors, being Visa, Mastercard, Stripe, PayPal, and so on, into enacting a TOS that basically says you can't buy these things using our service because we don't like them. And that's really what it says. At the base of it, that is what's going on here. Because, yeah, a lot of the things right now that have been banned are things I have absolutely zero interest in interacting with. But I've been watching this a long time. I've gotten old. And it never stops where they say it is, because there's always that next step. It's always the next thing. And they finally hit a group, well, for one, that I actively participate in, that being gamers. And they've hit a group, again, gamers, that are extremely stubborn, extremely interactive, extremely online, and extremely passionate. And while many of us probably won't indulge in the type of content they blocked, many of us also know that they're not going to stop there because we've already lived through it. Gamergate, while it was supposed to be about ethics and journalism, ended up turning into anything but. It turned into, how can we censor gamers against these things that we don't like? Obviously, this has been going on a long time. This is something that's been built up too slowly. And here we are at the precipice where it's reaching a flashpoint. Can we pull it back from this? Maybe. I don't know. I hope so. And that, again, is part of why I'm here to talk about it, because there are things you can do. There are a number of things that aren't going to be easy to do, but you do have the choice. You have options. And whether you choose to use those options or not are entirely up to you. Because it's Visa, Mastercard, because they have such a tight hold on the market, it's going to be basically impossible to fully boycott them. But before, I'm going to talk about the options in a minute. I have some tweets and stuff that I want to talk about first, and then we'll get into options. And here we have Madam Savvy, an absolute thorn in just about anyone's rear end if you piss her off. Don't recommend. Complaining about the fact that Collective Shout really just refuses to acknowledge that women are against them. Yes, there are women gamers. There are women who game. There are women who love gaming, and women who even love degenerate games, Madam Savvy being among them. No judgment, just a statement of fact. And I think that's the point of this all that really irritates me the most, is the fact that we are talking about a group who absolutely thinks that they speak for all women ever, who thinks that they have the right to say every woman feels this way and we get to say what's best for women in general. Now, I know it's a reasonably obvious point that I'm not a big fan of most women. I am not a woman like her. Some may even go as far as to call me a misogynist. I, at times, do definitely harbor negative feelings towards my own gender in general, but that's based on their own behavior. And this is the type of behavior that pisses me off the most. Women have a tendency to be far more collectively minded than men, and I'm not into that. You know, despite sharing organs with these people, I have no interest in being part of their collective. I have no interest in being part of their hive mind. And I absolutely have zero fucking interest in being told what I can and cannot enjoy. And further, I have zero interest in helping support them telling other people what they enjoy. Collective Shout put out a note on LinkedIn saying basically that Elon Musk, doing of all things, retweet the petition urging payment processors to stop being authoritarian asshats and instead, you know, just do what they're supposed to do, which is take money from point A, transfer it to point B so that I can make my purchase. That's literally all they're meant to be there for. And now, while I am not into, you know, threatening people with violence or other things, the fact of the matter is these are the same people who believe words are violence. You could be saying anything. They believe criticism against them is violence. The only risk these people are truly being put at is a risk of failure to control others, and they absolutely deserve to fail massively in that regard. It has reached the point that I would consider banding together with a bunch of other women, despite how I feel about women, just so that there is a group out there somewhere that stands up and says, no, fuck you. All us bitches are into this. Get the fuck away. I'd actually be down for that kind of thing. I posted it on X. I'm literally just this far from making some image, you know, like that stupid, what was it, a safety clip back in the 2010s that people would wear to say they were safe for depressed people or some bullshit. I don't remember. But, you know, that stuff never turns out well. So, but, you know, I'm really starting to think Pick Me's United should be a thing. If you got other names for that kind of organization, feel free to comment them down below. Maybe if I find one I really like, I can get it going. And, you know, us women gamers who really need to start pushing harder back on this stuff. As I've said before, you know, it's fine to be a woman gamer in this day and age. There's nothing wrong with being a gamer. Well, not nothing wrong. It's less stigmatized now than ever to be a gamer, and even less stigmatized to be a woman in gaming. And so those of us who genuinely enjoy the hobby should be making more noise. We should not be letting these people usurp our gender in an attempt to push this bullshit, in an attempt to take over an authoritarian shit by making us a victim that we're not, by belittling us further than they already do, by claiming that we can't handle fictional depictions of pictures doing things, and that we have to be protected from that bullshit by, of all things, the government. I have always said the true misogynists are those who want to pretend that women do not have their own agency, that we can't genuinely choose to participate in these type of things, that to choose to participate in these types of things is because we hate ourselves or because we just want male attention. No, honestly, 90% of the time I play a game, I don't want anybody's attention. I am a single player game person. And while I do occasionally enjoy playing games with other people, I don't play games to meet men. Again, as you've probably already heard from your favorite On Top of It YouTuber, starting August 13th, YouTube is going to start using AI to approximate your age. And if they think you are under that age, then they are going to require you to verify your identity. They're going to require you to verify your age. Now, the amusing thing about this is that the service that keeps having channels get hacked for cryptocurrency, that has more bots in the comments than just about anywhere else, and keeps taking people's channels down for absolutely random reasons because their AI sucks so fucking bad, it can't tell the difference between someone having a regular, normal conversation and maybe using one or two keywords and, you know, something actually serious. You're going to tell me the same AI that has taken down numerous gaming channels for doing nothing but playing a game has taken gaming channels down for having a gun in the video because it's a game about guns is going to do an okay job using their AI to determine people's ages. Excuse me, while I don't find that particularly comforting. I mean, how long until they decide that I am not a 43-year-old woman? Now, granted, I am, in fact, an interdimensional creature that is older than all time, but not the point at the moment. You have people such as Uncle Doomer here, who states, I have had a YouTube account since YouTube started in 2006. My YouTube account is actually old enough to vote. If I go on YouTube one day and they ask me for an ID to prove how old I am, that will be the last day I ever use YouTube. And I imagine there are a number of people who feel the same. I don't know anybody, really, myself, who is eager to give YouTube any access to their identification. Is this kind of stuff going to be, if say, for example, you subscribe to YouTube Premium, is that going to keep you from being hit by this because you've already given them a credit card? Or are you still going to have problems? Because at this point, if you've given them your credit card, you should be over 18, thus should not be an issue. However, I don't believe that this thing's going to be anywhere near good enough for that. And I don't know, that maybe this video will be a little ADD just because I am furious and I've gathered a number of little bits and pieces that have kind of pissed me off. But, you know, it does all kind of come together. I mean, you have Permaban, the hoarder of banned milk, over here saying Anita Sarkeesian is back as she joins the resistance to the mass censorship. One of the people who put us on this road to mass censorship, who decided that because gamers are sexist, that we shouldn't be allowed to play the games that we enjoy playing, that certain characters in our games are too sexy. If you cannot connect how that led to current day censorship, then I'm sorry, but I'm wondering if your IQ even reaches room temperature. Because that is a very obvious connection right there. This has been a long time coming. And yeah, it's a long time coming through a whole bunch of different mediums at that. I mean, look at what they did to music previously. And as the power to be held over people grows, the desire to control people through the easiest means, meaning government, is always going to increase. The push has been there for a very long time. The fact that you can reach out and fight against this in any way, that you can call your congressman, that you can call Visa, that you can call Mastercard, that you can call Stripe, you can call PayPal, and say something about this directly, that you know there are other people out there also backing you up. That is the positive part of social media. Because you can see that there are other people who feel the same way, who think the same way, and you can see the people who think differently. You can engage them, find where they may be right, and definitely find where they're fucking wrong, and adapt accordingly. Social media is very much about how you use it, but that's a different rant. We don't need to get me down that road. Then you have this person, Fossil Fighters Raptor, whatever. Anita gave like a high school level feminist critique of some video games, and now for some reason everyone thinks it's like illogically inconsistent for her to be anti-censorship. That's because it is logically inconsistent for her to be anti-censorship. She has already demanded the censorship of video games. She has already demanded the same thing, literally the same shit these people from Collective Shout have wanted. The desexualization of women, the de-objectification of women. The people, what's going on in these games are not women. They're images. They're images that look like women. But if you can't tell the difference between a four-dimensional woman, someone who moves in real time, has her own thoughts, opinions, and ability to say yes, no, maybe, and fuck off, then you have no reason to be. Well, I can't really finish that. I don't know. I can't say anything there that wouldn't potentially get me in trouble. But you know what I'm saying. And when it comes down to it, part of what we are worried about is this. We can talk about wanting to protect kids, wanting to make the world a safer place for women, or whatever. But in the end, whatever good intentions you dress this up with, you are always going to have the negative outcome of, you know, that guy over there said he doesn't like ex-politician, and ex-politician felt bad about that, and so now we're going to put him in jail. Because at the end, that's where this leads. That is absolutely where this leads. And sure, you might be sitting there thinking, oh, wait, no, there's no way that would happen here in the U.S. It will. It will, especially if the people don't actually start doing something about it. And that's where we really are, is that people keep voting without actually thinking things through. And that kind of brings us to, what can we do about this? The first thing you can do is contact your state representatives. Contact your congressman, contact your senators, say, yo, we know that this is out there. We are not interested. The first one of these is the Kids Online Safety Act. This would basically do what's happening over in the UK, where they demand that everything goes through some kind of identification. And personally, I am not into putting my eventual children's faces into any kind of database so that they can be looked at by God knows what. And then the second one is the Screen Act. Now, something many people may not be aware of is that Congress jumps through hoops, all sorts of amusing hoops, to figure out ways to name these things in clever titles that really make them sound like this is going to do something good. Another thing to keep in mind is that no matter what the title of a bill is, it is nearly always going to do the opposite of whatever positive intention they're trying to sell you. For example, the Screen Act, which is the Shielding Children's Retinas from Egregious Exposure on the Net Act. Now, you'd think that they could just have made that a lot smaller, but no, then you couldn't get this cute little acronym, SCREEN. And remember, people, this is what we pay Congress to do, to come up with fucking retarded titles for bills that do nothing but actually limit our freedoms. Anyway, this bill supposedly seeks to prevent minors from accessing content deemed harmful on clever platforms, meaning things, sexual content, or lack literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors. Yeah, whatever. By that definition, none of us would have been able to watch Thundercats. But, whatever. This is another thing that really doesn't need to go through, because it's not going to help anybody. It's going to pretend to help people. They sure are going to push it like it'd be good for you. But no, that's just because they want more control. So yes, definitely call your senator's office, call your representatives, because eventually it does end up in the House of Representatives, and you don't want to leave them out. They get lonely if you don't harass them occasionally. However, those are things that we can do in terms of the government. What can we do about the payment processing situation? That's a little more tricky. Now, I would love to do a breakdown video someday about how the whole payment processor thing works. I really feel like a lot of people don't understand what's happening in the back end between when we hand someone our credit. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't even hand people our credit cards anymore. Between when you tap your credit card on something or when you use PayPal or Stripe, I don't think people really understand the back end of that as much as they probably should, because you see way too often, well, they should just start their own. It's unfortunately not that easy. There's a reason why Elon Musk has done it, 3 times now? The only one that's been successful is PayPal, and he's not even part of that anymore. Creating a payment processor is not cheap, it's not easy, and it is full of over-regulation to the point that it's basically impossible to do if you don't have billions of dollars. And I do say billions because you need a lot of money to get the licensing. You have to build the infrastructure. There's a lot of shit going on in the back that, as customers, we don't want to think about these things. We don't, because we aren't supposed to. We're just supposed to go out, spend our money, whatever. I want what I want, move on. Because of this, because it's almost impossible at this point in time to get away from using a debit card, a credit card, or whatever in some kind of transaction, the one thing you can do is, when you're shopping locally, use cash. Use cash as much as you can. Try to avoid using the payment processors in general. It's not easy and it's extremely inconvenient. I won't lie. I fully admit that it's extremely inconvenient and difficult, and most people probably won't, just because it is that difficult. And then in some ways it can get more expensive. For example, if you are someone who enjoys eating at fast food restaurants, so often through these apps, they have 20% off, they have free fries, they have things that make your life less expensive, which in today's age really can be very valuable for someone. But one thing about freedom is that it isn't free and it isn't easy. If we want to really hit these people where it counts, reducing the amount of times that you are paying them by using that card, because do not doubt me, anytime you swipe that card, anytime you use it in a purchase, the people in these processing companies get a cut of that. They get a flat cut. It doesn't matter how much you spend. They get like 30 cents a transaction. And on top of that, there can be between one or two more levels that get money from it. That is actually part of what makes things cost more, is the fact that there are more people involved in our transactions on a day-to-day basis. Again, another conversation. We can get into the economics on that someday down the road, but I'm not going to force you to listen to me on that. But as hard as that is, and as much as I would love to push it far more, I mean, I wish that I could go to a life where I was spending cash on just about everything. But between the way things are costing now, how much you would have to pull out, I know it's impossible for people. There's way too much convenience to be found in making these credit card transactions. But even if you just do a few transactions a day, even if you just buy your coffee with cash instead of using your card, even if you just stop at McDonald's and use cash and use instead of your card, pick up something from Walmart and use cash instead of your card, that is that much less money in their pockets. And yes, it takes thought, and yes, it takes effort, but it is something that we can do that will have, albeit a small effect, it will still have an effect. And if enough of us manage to pull it off, if enough of us manage to avoid using those transactions, they'll see it in their pocketbook. Yeah, they may only get 30 cents a transaction, but 30 cents over 100 transactions, you got $3. 1,000 transactions, $30. And it just keeps going, you know? But in these situations, it's all about little steps. Now, the only decentralized payment processor or attempt at a payment processor I'm aware of is Odyssey. Now, Odyssey used to use Stripe. They discontinued Stripe for reasons they say specifically that Stripe wanted them to implement third-party moderation tools to monitor content all across Odyssey, and not just content monetized through Stripe, to ensure it aligned with their corporate policies. They even went as far as to demand that remove certain creators. Now, Odyssey, for those of you who aren't aware, are very much free speech, open source, decentralized, and they're doing their best to remain that way. That's why they decided to try to create their new payment processor. Now, how well does it work? I don't know. I haven't tried it. In order to use it, you have to get a Wander wallet. I've never tried that. I've never looked at it. It does get rid of the library coin that they were trying to do. I would have to put in a lot more research into this to really know if it's going to be viable as something for other businesses to use. Maybe it is. Maybe this is the direction we need to go. That is something that will have to be looked into seriously, in my opinion. Apparently they released this July 2nd, 2025. So really, it's new. It's something to be looked at. I don't know exactly how secure it might be. But in the situation we're in, we're looking for solutions. And while I can't say it will be the best solution, it is at least something for people to look at. I will be looking into it a little more seriously in the future and let you know if you will eventually be able to send me money this way, because God knows I like money. Anyway, but I think that about does that for me. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around, listening to me ramble. I so much appreciate your time and your attention, especially your time. I know that that's possibly the one thing that is more valuable than money in this world. I do want to give everybody a little bit of an update about how things are going to go moving forward. I plan to stick to sort of schedule. There will be videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesdays, I am on the Offensive Charm podcast with my friend Jazz, Mr. E. Bear, Asta every other week, and we do a guest on the in-between weeks. Next week, I believe we are having a guest, but I am not sure who that is as of yet. I also plan to stream on my streaming channel, which is currently named Horror Amarada. I am about to rename it because, like I said, I'm trying to rebrand everything so that people have an idea that everything's connected. But that link will be down in the description if you want to check it out. It will also, all these streams will also be streamed to Rumble and Kick and X if you want to watch it on any of those platforms. But I'm thinking about doing a Saturday stream about 12 Mountain Time to 3 or 4 Mountain Time, and then on Sundays when I have D&D, it'll be 1 Mountain Time to 5 Mountain Time, and then I'm thinking on non-D&D nights 8 to 11. I'm not 100% on that yet, but that's kind of what I'm looking into doing. All that said, I have to thank those of you who are still members here on my Abysmal Critic channel. I appreciate it so much, especially with how little I've been putting out lately. I genuinely appreciate that you would stick around. That is DX Machina NZ, Emperor Doomsday, Schmitted, Almugo, Narrator 45, Felix, Stormborn Deceased, Corinne Ponder, Ben Henniger, Hollywood Guy, and Michael Costello. Again, thank you guys so much for being here and sticking with me. It means the world to me. I need to redo my little guys next to your names too, but that's something for the future. Again, thank you so much for everybody for being here, for sticking around, for hanging out, for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, please, because of the way YouTube has changed things. If you don't do it, unfortunately, your view doesn't count. But, if you choose not to anyway, I appreciate the fact that you were here. Even if YouTube doesn't. Fuck YouTube. But I'll catch you guys later.